First things first, how do you like the background?
One day we'll show you what's behind the background. Some of you who are actually people who are regulars in the store already know what the background is. I'd like to thank Brock for the work he put into making this look salvageable. Eventually we'll go super smart green screen technology, and we'll be of the future for those of you who want us to be of the future. But for right now, we're kind of the like 1995. All right, so we're here. We got a few cards that we want to talk about. Like I said, each of us have chosen 5 cards that we think should see play and aren't seeing nearly enough play or just aren't seeing play at all. We're going to start off with what I think doesn't see any play. Have you ever seen anybody play Tower of the Magistrate?
Not in Commander, and I've seen it like once or twice in Legacy. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's a very good card, and people, like, I've seen people run right into it, where they're like, pro artifacts, whatever, equip my JIT, swing, and then they're blown out because...
Well, the most important part is they're like, equip my JIT, and you're like, no.
No, you wait till combat, and then you give it pro artifacts, and then it drops it.
I don't think that drops it.
It does. It gives it pro artifacts.
I don't think you lost equipment from pro artifact.
That's why they can't print.
No, that's why they can't put it on there.
No, that's why they can't put an equipment that says gives the creature pro artifacts, because then it would drop the equipment.
No, I'm pretty sure not.
Because doesn't equipping target?
Equipping targets, yes.
So therefore,
being equipped on a card does not target.
Okay, something's.
It's not like enchantments. You're thinking of enchantments. If you have an enchantment on there, it specifically has text that says the enchantment is removed from the thing. Equipment is not enchantments. You can turn a Sword of Feast and Famine green and not lose a Sword of Feast and Famine. I'm pretty sure. Now you've got me on rulings I can't remember.
See?
Thank you for...
No, but that's how I saw it happen. I saw him drop the JIT mid-combat because he gave it pro artifacts.
Okay, I could very well be wrong here. This is one of those...
This card would be terrible.
Huh? This card's still good.
It's semi-good. If it's live all of the time against the Voltron deck, then it's really good. But if it's only live when the time that you play it to them trying to equip, then it's not. It's just a narrow card.
Okay, well we can confirm this right now. We do have the power of the interwebs if I can make this work.
So, well, don't they have rulings on this website?
Yeah, but we can't use this website.
Oh, because it's not like official?
No, we can't use this website because it'll change what's showing on the stream.
True.
So we can look it up. Get a phone call, by the way. It's always nice.
I see. It doesn't have a contact name.
No, that's because I don't know who it is.
Well, no, because if something's enchanted with like a green enchantment, when you give it pro green, it drops the enchantment. It's like how Karmic Guide works.
Give me a sec. I'm just going to verify. I'm going to verify 100%.
I mean, this is back, what, in Mirrodin? The rules might have changed.
Such an equipment does stop equipping the permanent. Okay. It is checked during state-based effects and dropped. So that makes that card even better. I didn't think that card was nearly as good.
That's why that card.
I thought that card was really good.
That card is nuts.
But that is. That can be a complete change of game.
And it's colorless, so it literally goes in every deck.
It chops the nuts off of swords, like immediately. Immediately.
The only problem is that it does just like choke a mana base. So if you got a lot of like already utility lands, you know, it just taking out a basic and throwing this in might not be the best.
So obviously then it's not optimal for 3, 4 colors. Well, maybe 3 colors can do it if they have
colors,
less.
My Wanderer deck, I run like a lot. Well, that's because almost every land produces any color I need. But like, I have half the lands are utility lands that produce colorless. So that's why I was trying to say, just when you're putting in utility lands, just make sure that you're not overloading.
You know, in a topic we'll talk about after. No. In a topic we'll talk about after we do this. Okay. I'll explain to you why it doesn't matter 2 shits and a rat's ass how many utility lands you have, or at least according to my opinion.
Oh, you and your damn signets.
Absolutely. Well, that's something I really want to discuss. So we're gonna discuss that after we go through this. For anybody that watches this on YouTube, any videos that we do, we're gonna be doing the lists and then we're going to be doing like some other commentaries. So you'll see them as separate videos. They won't all come and bundle in the same commentary. When we do a commentary that is just the cards, it'll be just the our 10 for that period, and then we'll do a different video for the other stuff.
So summary for this awesome card.
Yeah, seems both of us think it's
Literally
greatly playable.
Like it literally blows out Voltron decks.
When you when you consider Sword of Feast and Famine is a card that every time it sees play, people groan, and this card immediately turns off Sword of Feast and Famine.
Yeah.
It's not even a question. You can't even get the opportunity to equip Sword of Feast and Famine. This is almost Mazavith level good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, so our next card is me fucking up. That's what that is.
What'd you do?
The fucking... I can't get the window to scroll. Fuck, watch me just screw everything up. All right, the next card that we have
It's Tower of the Magistrate.
is Bloodspeaker. Now, this was Brock's recommendation, so I'll let Brock explain why he thinks this card is good.
So it's not why I think it's good. I just think this is an engine for a commander deck. People love tribal. People love making tribal decks, and in like a demon deck, this card is really. I've never seen this card before. When I was looking up cards and I saw this, it's repeatable tutor for any demon. So in like a Rakdos deck, in a mono black deck, Kalia. See, this card is already good. Now it has to live until the next your next upkeep to actually work, but it just it never turns off. So I think it gets the demon, then when a demon comes into play, you get it back from your graveyard.
Right.
So you don't need to find another way to get it back to your hand. You can just always have it back with the demon you played. And there you go.
Product placement, not even paid for.
Now, what do you think about the card?
I agree to some degree and I disagree. Like, I'm thinking about this deck for, just use Kalia as the example. Thinking about this deck for Kalia, my big concern with this card is, of course, at the beginning of upkeep trigger. Sitting around, sitting around for like a whole turn with a card is sometimes pretty impossible. Although last night we saw an Iona sit on the table for 3 turns,
Avacyn?
Was it? Avacyn.
Well, it's Avacyn, but still.
We also saw how many Broodmate Dragons
that was awesome.
stick around forever.
But that's the thing though. Is like this in a Kalia deck. This card's nuts. Even if it's not like a heavy demon thing, you can just get all of your tasty demons. Like if you need a removal spell, get the new Shadowborn demon, right? And then you're just like Kalia attack, put this guy in, blow up your blocker.
My other problem is he's an Ogre Shaman, which means that you can't search for him using a lot of things.
Well, it's from Kamigawa, so like they had to have the ogres and the demons together. And
right. No, I get it. They had to rip off L5R as much as they possibly could in one card set.
I really agree with it though. I think it's good. I think it's like it's an underplayed, undervalued card. Like obviously you can just list like cards forever that are quote better than it or can take a spot, but like.
No, I think the auto recursion factor. Yeah. If you're playing more than 5 demons, the auto recursion factor makes this card a card that can potentially get you 5 cards.
Well, I mean, also think about the mana cost. It's only 4, and Diabolic Tutor's 4.
Right, and this could be exponentially better. I mean, in my opinion, it's not demonic collusion, obviously, but it's still as recursive and can still get you what you need. Yeah. So I'd say I'd call it playable. I wouldn't say it's a staple.
Like it's not. It's no tower, but
yeah. But it's good. It's playable. If you're playing demons and you're playing a good number of them.
That's actually why I picked this card is because it's a card. It's you talk about it as in you're defending it or you're trying to like pick at it. There's no like this is obviously a good card. You have to make it work. Right. And when you make it work, it's very good.
Speaking of cards you have to make work, let's transition into Planar Collapse, a card that requires 0 work. Mm-hmm. During your upkeep, if there are 4 more creatures, just destroy all creatures.
I agree. I like it.
I don't understand how this card hasn't seen more play. First of all, you can play this early and just bait out people to like throw out things that they're like, I guess I can get rid of this, I guess I can lose this, no matter what people are going to lose. Then you play this late game, and everybody is looking for, do I have a way to remove this card? Do I have enchantment removal? And you've lost nothing. It costs 2 mana. Where's your loss?
You know what you do with this? You play it in black-white, and then you play this, then you suspend Tysis.
Oh.
And you laugh at people.
That's just a dick play.
No. That's what this card is. It's a white Tysis. It Tysis is a card that nobody wants to play creatures, right?
Yeah.
And this is it. This says if people already have like guys out, one person's going to throw out a bunch of shitty elves and then blow up the giant monsters, or nobody wants their giant things to get destroyed.
Yeah.
So
the other thing I think about this card is it's about playing with it and against it correctly. Because your example of like the guy's going to throw out a bunch of elves, the guy throwing out the elves to get rid of the one guy is clearly going to lose value.
but it's a wrath effect that he probably can't get.
Right. He's got at least some way he can interact with the board. This creates situations. This creates bargaining chips. This creates. It creates like control-esque situations without having a control situation by yourself. It can power out a good number of things. In my opinion, like it's outright value. Maybe not every deck is going to want to play this. Maybe like a hardcore control deck is going to want to play planar collapse because to them it's slower. They're more concerned with wiping out the creatures right away.
Well, I mean, the card also says like 4 for 1, so.
Yeah, but at the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Although it also says 3 for 0 because you got to wait for that fourth one to come online. And it may never come online.
Yeah.
This is definitely not a 2-player EDH card. Although if you're playing 2-player EDH, you got to say you're doing it wrong, and that's a whole show for another time. It's a whole show for another time.
Right.
There's certain circumstances you should be playing one-on-one, but those circumstances are not casual play.
All right.
But we will talk about that another time.
So next card.
Going from destroying all creatures, we have a card that lets you search for whatever you want from somebody's deck. We have no segues properly developed for this, by the way.
No, this doesn't search anybody's deck. This searches your deck. It searches your deck for an answer.
Oh, I've got this card backwards.
I want to say like about a week before you actually told me to write up a list, Ryan found a card that was 5 mana, blue 3, sorcery, and it was either an opponent lets you choose to search your deck for a card and then put it in your hand, or at the beginning of your next upkeep, draw 3 cards.
Right.
And I was a little hesitant on it because I'm like, it's either a worse Jace's Ingenuity or like a blue Diabolic Tutor. But this card actually, this card actually is politics. It's somebody's, and it doesn't say target opponent, it says an opponent. So anybody at the table can let you have the one card that you exiled. So,
oh wow, I did not notice that about the card.
So, and on top of it, if nobody, like if you're ahead, you can just play this and like exile, I don't know, like some random fatty that nobody wants to see, and then you get to draw 3 cards. Like, this is the epitome of, I have an answer in my deck, who wants to help me get it?
Yeah, and all it takes is one person saying yes.
The only problem though is that it permanently exiles it, so if you choose like, if the person's like has an answer in their hand, but you go for this plan, they're like, no, I'm just going to exile your giant thing that can reset the board, and I'm going to reset the board, and then now you don't have that answer in your deck.
No, that's very good. Actually, I didn't realize when I first read this card the any opponent part of that.
Yeah.
I thought it said an opponent. I completely missed the Y on that.
You get to play
line.
this card, search your deck, and then look at the table and say who's going to let me have this.
That is actually like to me the defining definition of a
like
how well can you BS the situation card?
Like the only situation that this is bad in is if you're like ahead and you're doing it wrong if you're playing this while you're ahead. Because even if it's a 4-player game and the 3 other players are a million light years ahead of you, nobody's gonna let you have your card, but you get to draw 3 cards.
Yeah,
which
can already change the game.
So
just immediately. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there.
Next card.
Going on to one of my favorite classic cards, Planeswalker's Mischief. This was a card that during the standard environment at the time, I tried so heavily to make this card work. I worked I had probably 5 different decks that all contained this card, and it just did not fit into the format at all. But I think in Commander, this card has the potential reach to do some amazing things. First of all, there's the downside. There's the downside that you can pay 4 in and not hit anything. So it's more of I'd almost call it like a mana waster. You're sitting there and you've got mana left over to burn. You want to see what could happen, or because you just listened to your opponent tell somebody else that he's got the answer for something. Suddenly you pay 4 mana and you nab that card. the game has changed dramatically. I'm not saying this is like a great card, but I am saying that I think this card should be seen a lot more than it does already. Especially, I mean, the ability to just to grab certain things, to put things there. Another really good example is play this in blue-black and then play head games. Head games your opponent, give him nothing but a handful of instants and sorceries, and then just pay 4 mana and get money. 9 mana, you fucking take whatever, you get one random good card that of your choice from your opponent's hand, basically.
You know, what's funny is right before you mentioned blue-black, I was actually thinking this card in like blue-white, or a deck that actually isn't playing black, as like a form of like almost like checking for something. Like, so, you know, if somebody's sitting at the table with one card in their hand, this situation has come up before where, you know, they're not even looking at that card, whatever, and you choose them, and they flip a Plague Wind, you know, it feels pretty good to know that the last card in their hand was something that was game-breaking and that you got to use it.
Absolutely.
But the only downside is it's random, and, well,
it's random, it's slow, it's expensive.
Well, I'm not even looking at the cost, because the cost is fine. Like, but it's just random, and it's instant or sorcery, and then it can't be an X spell. So like, and then if you hit a counter spell, then it's kind of awkward. Yeah. So.
But at the same time, I mean, if you can, I don't know, I guess you can't really throw it out there, can you? So when is the casting stipulation? You can cast it at any time. So you could use their counterspell as a
But you can only use this
backup.
as a sorcery.
Yeah, but here's what I'm saying. You pay the 4, activate it, you hit a counterspell.
Oh, wait,
now you know. Yeah, now you know you can safely cast your next spell and not have to worry about losing that. Which is really important, especially if you're playing against a control player who's going to try to stop you from doing what you're going to do naturally.
And then this card just shines in a deck that's playing like, I don't want to say targeted discard, but like just discard like I'm trying to think, the 1 black 1/1 fiend, that when it hits, it exiles a card from target player's hand, and when it leaves, they get that card back. Mesmeric Fiend?
Mesmeric Fiend, there you go.
Like cards like that are like pseudo value, but like with cards like that and then this, you can fine tune somebody's hand down to where they only have the cards that you want them to have, and then you can take them.
Which is basically, I think, the flavor of this card. I think that's what the original design was. I mean, it was back during the plane shift era, and I mean that was a lot of what plane shift was doing. There were a lot of blue-black cards that were bounce, that were discard in those colors. Going from there, we've got another card related to your deck, Heretics Punishment. This is a Brock recommendation, so I'll let him explain.
So I built a Jund EDH deck, and I wanted the deck to literally just be, I don't care about winning, I just want a really fast, intense game. And this card, every time I play it's like game breaking, because if like I untap with it, I get 3 or 4 activations out of it. I'm playing like 8 and 9 and 7 drops in my deck. So, and it's reusable removal, which is like the good part. And then it fits in, like, it fits in more than just it fits in better in, I think it shines in something like Thraxamundar or Cedrus, a Reanimator deck, where you can use it to kill things and then use the creatures that you milled over and get them back, and then, you know, kind of kill people with them.
I can kind of agree. I'm not as big a fan of this card. First of all, I think the 5 mana cost to put it out is really backbreaking. Actually, you're spending a lot of time getting to this card, and then once you get on there, it's still 4 to put it out. So odds are you're not going to activate it same turn it comes out.
Well, no, but like if you play it early game, then you know the mana's not, quote, wasted.
Part of it to me is as well.
If you use it late game, that means when you untap with it, you get at least 2 activations.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
I've killed people with this card.
That's fine. You could, but a lot of people can say that with a lot of cards.
Well,
you could say people have won world championships with Sarah Angel, and that card is still not EDH playable.
But I actually won a game in EDH with this card. So no, but this card combined with
I
cards
think I got killed by a 2/2 zombie once in EDH.
Burnus of Wrath. or...
You're going to tell me 2/2 zombie token is like the best card in the game?
It's reusable removal. How can you argue with that?
Because
it's
it
all
can
the value.
sometimes be nothing. And
Okay, but I think... Okay.
In the same way, going back to Planeswalker's Mischief, and all I'm trying to do is sort of point out the parallels here that I think you might be missing in the card. Let's say I play this card.
Yeah.
Okay? What are the odds that I flip 3 lands off the top, then draw something that costs 15, then flip 3 lands off the top?
The way you'd do it is you'd flip like 3/2 mana things and then draw a land, then flip 3/2 mana things and draw a land, then flip 3/2 mana.
No, I would constantly. I would have exactly 5 mana,
you'd get
4 of
almost
which I'm
value
using to
out of it.
activate that, and it would be land, 15 mana cost spell,
Yeah.
land, 11 mana cost
again,
spell.
You know, it's if
random.
you hit
It
all in,
has
yeah.
to me it has the same downside as Planeswalker Mischief.
But
I don't think this is like an autoplay for anybody playing red.
Well, no, it isn't. But I'm saying it shines in the decks that make it a good card. It's another engine for Cedrus,
Right,
or
and I will agree.
Reanimator Thrax, or in my Jund deck, I just wanted the game to be fast. So if nothing was out there, I would just start targeting people and killing them.
All right, so your idea for this card is basically that it has to have
It does
black as a
work.
backup, period.
Because red and black together are kind of awesome.
Well, having the reanimation to go along with the fact that you're going to be throwing these cards in the garbage.
Name a
seems-
Reanimator color, like combination other than like Grixis or Jund.
Black red by itself. Playing either Lizolda or I forget the other guy, but
Rakdos. I don't know.
no.
Exavo.
Actually, the Rakdos wouldn't be
Sabo.
playing that card. Rakdos would be
Sabo.
playing like 15 mana Eldrazi that
No, what are
plays
you
for
talking
0
about?
mana.
Rakdos would be playing this card because you do this, flip into an Eldrazi, right? Hit them for 10, shuffle it in, play your other Eldrazi for free. See?
I guess that's actually a reasonable argument. Okay, I can't argue with that. Because I can't argue with that, I'm going to yield and we're going to go to the next card. This is my card. This is Compulsion. I'm in love with this card. I was in love with this card years ago. I literally forgot this card existed until I decided we started talking about doing this show idea. And I sat down and I literally have a list of like 35 enchantments that I want to talk about. So I got plenty of cards to talk about just in the enchantment category. This card, when I saw it again, I wanted to kind of cry because I could not believe that I had forgot this card exists. This gives every card cycling. You have the blue limitation, sure, but every card is suddenly a cycling card, including this card. As soon as you're done with this card, you cycle this card. You get an enchantment that gives you the ability to cycle all of your cards, and then afterwards, when you realize, oh, I need a quick out, you cycle the very card giving you cycling.
Well, I guess to relate to that, you're never down in card advantage with this card. You're never up either, but you're always just right. Because you can cycle this away, you always have the card advantage that you put into it.
Yeah, and that's not even adding to what would happen if, say, this was put in a Reanimator deck.
This is
sure.
another engine for a
I
Reanimator
drop my 10 cost, and I get a card that reanimates my 10
Yeah.
cost.
There's I'm trying to think. There was an enchantment I saw. I think it was like blue black and 1, and it was like pay a colorless, pay a life, and you loot.
Did you lose?
You loot.
Oh, sorry, I'm making sure.
So, like, when you started talking about this, I was trying to think about that card, and I think this is a little bit better, but again, I mean, paying like 2, 1 and a blue over 1, but you still have to pay a life, and you're already investing a card into the enchantment itself. I think this card's a lot better in like more of a control style deck because if you don't have an answer and you need an answer, this card isn't an answer, discard it, draw a card, this card isn't an answer either, draw it. So, or just, a combo deck would love this card.
Yeah.
Reanimator.
Yep.
Insane. Which just makes it like Cedrus a better Reanimator deck.
Yeah, it does.
So if you have Cedrus deck out there,
you should be playing it. There's
heretics.
Actually, there's very little reason that you shouldn't be playing either of those cards.
All right, next card. This is one of mine. Face reward. Now,
I'm going to say that, like, I'm going to interrupt before you go on to this, because I'll forget it otherwise. But I got to say that I did not properly read this card's wording until I saw, I think it was actually Conley Woods playing that that deck that he can't pilot to save his life, because Conley Woods. Don't get me wrong, you guys have seen me play
the open the vault
stuff on video, and I know I make a lot of mistakes. Go and watch Conley do his Open the Vaults deck on Channel Fireball. Just watch like the first video where he has lethal 3 times.
It is
3 times in the video he has lethal on the table, and he skips it to keep like milling cards, and he almost mills himself out before realizing, oh, I guess now I have the way to beat my opponent.
Yeah. That was pretty fun. Anyway, face reward. Well, you started talking about Conley. All you want to do is bag on Conley Woods? All I want to do is bag on Conley Woods. Anytime I get an opportunity to bag on Conley Woods, I'm gonna cut in there to do that. I actually thought it was related to the card, but this is a card that was brought to my attention about a month ago. Now, obviously I knew how good the card was, but in like my Vish Call deck, just having the ability to sack my side to make a giant Vish Call, and then getting my side back with face reward is just like magical Christmas land. But the thing about this is good in any white deck that is playing like a Boros deck with Jorkadine, things like that, or Aurelia. Like tokens isn't very good with this card, but like just in general. Or if you want to be really bad, you could just like Decree of Annihilation and then into this thing. It is a reset button. So when you and 2 other people are running the table, and the third person plays a Supreme Verdict or a Wrath of God or whatever, you can, at the end of the turn, you can get your board back, and now you're in a better position because you have a board and nobody else does.
Yeah, and you pointed out the most important part to me, which is that this card isn't just an autoplay in decks. It's not going to save your tokens. If you're playing a deck where you're really only playing 1 card, and that's like your stickler card, paying 4 mana to get it back is probably more expensive than some of the other alternatives you have to getting back that card. And it's a very conditional sort of deal. You have to have the 4 mana open when the effect happens. Yeah. But that's not me putting down this card. I think this card is actually a very, very, what I believe should have been a much higher end EDH card, a very much so higher end commander card than it has been.
It's also just doesn't also work for like creatures. I mean, somebody plays Vandal Blast, and you are playing all the signets and cluestones in the world. I mean, that doesn't blow you out anymore.
Right. That's very important actually.
Or you could set up something like stupid, like sacrificing your side to a Vish Call and then killing somebody, and then super overextending. And then not overextending.
Another example is in my Zedru deck, like it's played in the Open the Vaults deck that's played Modern. This is basically another Open the Vaults for me. I send all my cards away and I get them all back with a face reward.
So it's a good card. It's good again. Yeah. It's good in like value. It's good in beating wrath effects. It's good in getting blown out. It's good in giant combo decks in EDH.
All the things that are important.
Next card.
All right, this is a card that a lot of people aren't going to agree with me on, but it's greed. I'm a big fan of greed, and I don't just mean that from like the I really like money perspective. I mean that as in like I like this card as well. This card is accurate. It is pay a black, pay 2 life. I mean, you can see it on screen, draw a card. It's very, very simple. The downside is obviously paying a black. It's not actually the paying 2 life. If anybody ever saw, and I hate to give props to what's his name, Mr. Orange guy, Evan Irwin. Yeah. I hate to give Evan Irwin props, but he had one good question that he asked around at a pro tour one day. He asked, how much life would you be willing to pay to draw 3 cards? And I really liked Kibler's response, which was 19.5. If you're still in the game after drawing 3 cards, those 3 cards could be the cards that win you the game. And I'm to the point, I believe that. If you start with 40 life and you have life to burn, this card is already going to be fine. People, the only reason we don't see Necropotence being a high-end played card is number 1, it is triple black, which is a little more difficult, and number 2, like you got to wait. You have to wait to get your Necro cards, which is a huge pain in the ass to sit there and just like stare at your stuff and go, someday I'll get my cards.
Well, also you can't just discard giant fatties to the yard.
Correct.
They get exiles.
Yeah. So there's a lot of drawbacks there. With greed, the only drawback is literally your black mana. You cap out wherever your black mana caps out. But even as a card that like this, you play this like a lesser Phyrexian Arena, you can get 2 cards off this for 4 life, taking your total cards netted for the turn to 3 cards. So you're already ahead of Arena. It may have cost you an extra, what is it, 5 life? Extra 3 life rather. But at the end of the day, you've netted card advantage that your opponent can't match. You get near 1-for-1 draws. You pay 1, you lose some stuff you don't care about, you draw a card.
Yeah.
And in a format where like your life total can sometimes be a gray area, it just seems.
Well, and don't even talk about this card in like life gain.
Yeah.
I mean that right there would be like stupid.
At that point it literally is.
Yeah,
my black mana is how many cards I'm going to draw.
Yeah, like a Gave deck that's gaining a shit ton of life off of an Elspeth.
Yeah.
You just pump all of that into greed. But something I want to point out is this card and the new God enchantment that's black in Theros that just got spoiled. Just draw lines and in comparison, and this card is far better because it's not indestructible and it can be a creature, but it's only 1 black, and that is exactly what it is. It's your black mana is how many cards you get to draw instead of like 2 and 2 to draw 1. That's kind of a joke.
Yep.
And like some of the other gods, people like saying, you good in EDH, maybe.
Well, I don't understand. I don't understand how we get to that point.
This card should overshadow the black god, and if the black god gets to see play in EDH, I hope that they have greed in their deck, and the black god is just a worse greed.
Yeah, and that's actually one of my concerns. And one of the other reasons I want to bring this card up is, or one of the things I want to point out is, I actually think if you're even playing the god. You're making a mistake. I mean, but I don't want to talk too much about the god because I want to. Yeah. When the new set comes out, one of the things I do want us to do is pick out like some cards and go over the cards from that. But like this card is value. It's card advantage. If you don't like the life total loss, maybe you're not the right player to be playing black. If you're not willing to look at your life total and go, that's just an added resource I have to cast things.
The only real difference is between like 1 and 0. So
yeah, that's it. That's the only time it matters.
Yeah.
My life total only matters when it is at the number where I don't participate in the game anymore.
Yeah. Or commander damage.
Yeah.
So next card.
All right, going from that, we go into
Soothsaying.
This is the last card on our list. This is a card that you'll actually get a pretty good argument between the both of us about.
I like this card. I was shown this card around the time I first started playing EDH, and I still think that it's not for every blue deck, but it's damn near close for every blue deck. Like if you're going to be playing things like Scroll Rack or Top or Crystal Ball, Soothsaying should be in there because it doesn't net you card advantage, but what it does, it filters as deep as you want and as deep as you can go. And then on top of it, like let's say you spent like 8 mana, right? In this entire game, you've been like filtering out lands. Now you have like 8 lands on top. You can shuffle your library on your turn. And then now you don't have to look at those lands and you can try and get something better. So you don't have to wait for something like Mad Blind Mountain or something to shuffle your library or a ramp spell. You can do it with this card. So this card does work.
Now, being caught in a mana trap aside, as he just explained, where you're like, I'm going to shovel all my mana into Soothsaying to try to balance myself out. I just want to take a moment to compare this card to Greed. Let's just go that route. Let's go back and look at Greed versus this card. You're still paying the same X. The only difference here is you're not losing life, but you have the cards in your hand. That's fine. For the most part, I mean, it's going to cost you double blue to activate the Soothsaying. Average activation, if you plan on doing something during the course of the game, is going to be 3. But if you're putting more than 3 mana into this card, you've mana trapped yourself in Soothsaying.
No, because you get to shuffle.
No, a mana trap is any time that you have to leave mana open. You have to leave mana open to continue to pay for something that may or may not be netting you the value. A lot of people do that with Top. A lot of people have optimal plays in their hand, but have a top on the field, so they change their play to make sure they can top afterwards.
That's called being like an efficient player.
No, it's mana trapping. If you have the optimal play, you should always be playing the optimal play. And looking at your cards on top of your deck when you've already seen 2 of them isn't an optimal play. That's suboptimal.
It could be.
You're seeing one. Yeah, but that's like saying that it's worth it for me to change an optimal play to scry 1.
It could be.
But it could also not be.
But that's the
it
point.
Could just as easily not be.
That's playing blue, though. It's knowing what the optimal play is at a time. So if it might seem like the optimal play, but you know your deck, and you know that there's a card that would actually, like, this will lose me the game, but I'll also take somebody with me. Is there a card in my deck that will win me the game in this situation? I don't know. Let's find out.
Well, to me, the reach of this card seems to sort of stop at the point that you're playing more than even a second color. At your first color, this card, I can see this in mono blue because a lot of what you're going to be doing is boring the shit out of your opponent.
Mono blue is like, draw a go, and which is really fun.
Yeah, and that's what this card is like. Draw go's great.
But like green blue, this card's insane because you're just okay. You played on turn 1, you played on turn 5, whatever. But you're not going to really use this until like you're out of gas or you need an answer, and by then you're going to have like 8 mana or 9 mana to just. If
you're playing this in something like blue, black, red, you're gonna mana trap yourself so many times. You're gonna be in that situation.
Blue, black, Grixis is all about drawing and discarding.
Yeah. Okay.
So if this in blue, black isn't as powerful as it is in something like America.
What I mostly wanted to point out here, and I apologize for interrupting you, but that's kind of how I talk. This is a card that I thought when you were coming into this, you were coming into it the same way. It seems like Ryan feels about this card, where this card is like every blue deck in it right now.
No, I don't play this card in my Maelstrom Wanderer deck. It is a waste of a card in that deck. You can set up your Cascades. I got something better to set up my Cascade. Right. I don't want to set up my. I'll make it so that way any random flip will be better than a soothsaying. Right,
and the last thing you'd want to do is flip into a soothsaying. That'd be depressing.
The most depressing flips I get are like is it Chronarch for like a ramp spell, and then like Eternal Witness for a land. Like those are the most depressing. But like the ones that are fun are like Explosive Vegetation into a Signet. Like those are good because the next turn when people kill my general, I get to replay it. But this isn't good in like Intet. Intet, this card it pulls weight, but anything with like black and blue in it, I don't think this card would be that good.
Fair, very fair explanation there. Let's see if we've got any comments that we can talk about. Let me jump back real quick and
the sound's off. We can't hear you.
We
can't see the card. What are you guys talking about?
Back over here. Okay, somebody, Frozen Gecko told us that the equip does drop, but that's all it. There's not a lot of viewers, so probably not going to be a lot of comments otherwise. Any comments on the stream though, Gek, while you're still on here? Or I'm assuming Mastermind's the other person who's got his window still left open, but is probably like masturbating. We got Frozen Gecko and Mastermind. So any comments? I'm always looking forward to comments before we go on to what we'll be talking about as the next topic that Brock doesn't even know we're going to be talking about.
I mean, sorry. Shit, damn.
Much better.